Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture, the show where we discuss science, technology and culture in its myriad of forms. My name's Ben Warner and I'm joined by my good friend, colleague and fellow co-host Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. Hello, everyone out there in SciTech Culture Land. We've got some interesting topics today.
Yeah, we're going to discuss a certain aspect of lifestyle as it is in today's modern world. A couple of articles that you came across, Steve, that were quite interesting, and we thought we'd discuss them today because well, it's all, part of the technology. Maybe you could blame the technology in impacting the culture on it. But just to give you a brief summary, are humans unwittingly crafting a living that is not in line with how we are wired, both physically and mentally? Are we too distracted, by our gadgets and other things like, the constant stimulation around us and that removal from the natural environment? And with no foreseeable way to unplug ourselves from it, and how that is affecting us on our day-to-day lives. And actually, just when we were discussing this before we got on, I was actually thinking about that. I can even feel that myself in that we sort of grew up in the era, I'd say both of us, where we knew what it was like before all of this constant stimulation factor in our society had really taken hold.
Being bored on Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon.
That's right, with all that time to think. And you actually realise that I actually found in hindsight that I felt like I'd have more devotion and energy for doing a lot of creative projects. But I'm finding now that it almost seems like more of a struggle to go that way because, it's in this just by default. We're all just so connected, and I feel that as well. That when you come home at the end of the day, you don't want to necessarily do anything or whatever. Or even when you do get home, you might end up picking up like an iPad or an iPhone, watch TV. You hear sounds coming from outside or whatever. Especially where I am, pretty much in the centre of Melbourne here. I've got noises coming out from everywhere, and buildings and trams, trains, whatever else. So there is a fundamental shift going on with it. And what I find fascinating is this idea that it's unwitting. It's just, all this stuff kind of is just happening as we go along. And it's like, what do we do about it?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, it's a revolution now for humanity. I think it doesn't matter whether you're in the developing world or, first world. We're living longer generally. We've got access to technology. And I think there's a huge upheaval in the way that we're about to live our futures. I mean, technology is only going to play a greater role, more automation, more communications, more on all the time. We're living much older ages and more active lives. I mean, we were talking about this before as well, where, the middle age now has shifted from being in your 30s to probably being in your 50s. And that's right, because we're probably going to live to be about 90 or 100. And another 30 or 40 years is probably going to go beyond that with medical technology, and we're going to be active for longer. At the same time, you're having a revolution within society where some people are choosing to go the ultra-modern, ultra-tech ways, and other people are choosing to go the old-fashioned craft and, home-style living, sustainable way. So who knows where it'll end up, Ben, but it's certainly... I think we're certainly seeing big changes in the way everyone lives and the choices that we actually have to live in life.
I think too the pervasiveness of all the new technology, the easy access to it, and the fact that it's actually easier to use than before. So whereas in the past you'd probably get people who are more tech enthusiasts getting into their computers and whatever. Now everyone has one, in the form of a smartphone or whatever. It can be hard, and I think this is where our brains are wired to say no to something. So, I don't know if you'd classify it as an addiction, but the same idea that if you want to obviously find that mental headspace to sort of disconnect for a while, you have to make that conscious decision to put down that tablet, or drive an hour out of the city, or do something that literally disconnects you. And that actually can be harder than it sounds to do.
Yeah, very. I mean, there's already evidence that, devices are changing our sleep patterns. They're changing our behaviors. They're changing the way we think and the way we act. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but change means a different way of life, and it means a different way of life for everyone. So put that against someone maybe 100 years ago, where if you'd done your jobs for the day, which were probably done not at a huge pace because you didn't have huge populations, high-pressure urban environments, you didn't have communications, that were driving you to work faster and faster and respond more quickly. At the end of the day, what would you do? Maybe you could go and sit outside and, there was space. There weren't huge hordes of people. It'd be a lot easier just to appreciate nature and your surroundings than probably it is today. Although that's not to say you can't enjoy or appreciate an urban environment. There's some very beautiful things about well-designed urban environments that are, that do foster appreciation.
Yeah.
But do you have the time to do them? And then also, the longer we live in a cycle like that, I mean, I think we're starting to see now, certainly career-wise, people are burning out. And that's because in their 20s and 30s, they tackle careers very hard, very high expectations. You can't switch off anymore. You can work actually 24 hours a day if you're capable of it. People are burning out in their 30s and 40s, and they've still got another 30 or 40 years after that of active life. So we've never seen these things before. I think this is actually a huge revolution. So we've seen technology over the last 30 years probably starting the revolution, and I think now humans and the way humans live and our lifespans are going to revolutionize the next part of our evolution.
And that may be the downside of the on-demand culture that we have. Now, we've used it in the past in relation to watching movies and whatever, but it actually applies to everything, because now everything is accessible 24/7, anytime, anywhere. And if you've got your phone in your pocket, it's with you everywhere you go. So again, they're reiterating that it can be hard to switch off from it if it's always, sort of always there.
Well, it is an extension. In fact, it is rampant consumerism. Not necessarily always a financial transaction, although I'm sure they'll find a way to make that the case. But, we're consuming, whether it's visually, we're consuming for all sorts of reasons. And I think, it is hard to turn off. So how in the future, I mean, we came up with having weekends and working 8-hour days, which was easy when you had a place of work and you could only work at that place and there were no other communications outside of that. The question is, will we have to, put on some sort of notional thing that, after 12 hours a day on the internet, you have to stop? Once you got unlimited broadband, what's next?
Exactly. Now, I just want to move on. You mentioned this before, this idea of the expectations of, what's middle age and also life expectancy now. And in relation to this, it kind of feeds into it too, that these days, and you mentioned it before we got on, that when we were growing up, the idea of being 40 felt like it was middle age and you were getting on. But, I'm only 4 years away from that now. And I certainly don't feel like I've moved on or anything like that. And I'm not even sort of close to getting started. So there, there you go.
Stem cell therapy you're taking, Ben, makes you look like 21.
Exactly. Get those injections right now. The interesting thing, I think, is this shift, and which you mentioned just before, about that the new middle age is probably 50 or 60 now. And maybe that feeds into this whole debate that, especially that's happening in this country too, and I'm sure others, about when is retirement suitable now? Because retirement in Australia, at least, is based on the notion of what it was in the early 1900s. That's changed.
Only a little bit, hey?
Yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of people would be incredibly productive even now, well beyond 60. So. That's a titanic shift in how we do things, and it has an impact on society because we have to find ways to keep all of these people engaged.
Oh, absolutely. Look, when you worked quite probably in manual labour 100 years ago, well, and you had an average life expectancy of 60, 65, 60 is a good time to retire, I think, so you've got a few years to enjoy.
Mm.
And, today, if you're looking at 85, people want to be productive. People want to be part of it. Maybe that's part of the whole technology thing that, now with emails and a bit of thought and experience, you don't have to go out and lift something heavy or do some hard work. You can actually contribute your thoughts, your experience, your wisdom to productivity, to creating productivity. And I don't see that why anyone would want to exclude people with those sorts of talents or contributions to make from the equation. Yeah. Obviously, for some people, maybe at 60 or 55 even, that might be the time to pull them out of the workforce, depending on whether they've been, financially successful, or maybe they really don't feel they have anything more to give or want to contribute.
Yeah.
But you've got to make available that end, people, and you see it very often in academic or at high-end positions where you'll see chairmen of boards and very clever people, with advanced years by, maybe old standards, still up there and doing things. I mean, you see people like Rupert Murdoch and Bruce Gordon within media. Both they're not young men anymore, but they're still as sharp as ever, and they're still very productive and great leaders of their businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just as a final point before we wrap up, I guess that means we've probably got another 50 years of SciTech culture left, or maybe we'll
episodes, Ben.
Yeah, or maybe we'll find some other show to work on by then. All right. So thanks again, Steve, for the chat. It's a fascinating topic.
Yes. Well, I guess we'll have plenty more episodes on this, but. We'll definitely see advances and changes in technology and lifestyles over the next 10 years. And part of that might actually come when we run out of gadgets to buy, or the gadgets just last so long we don't need to buy more.
Or they get implanted, perhaps.
That's right.
All right. So don't forget our website, scitechculture.com. You can get all of our links there. Don't forget to subscribe to our audio and video channels and also our blogs, and so that you can get our latest episodes. You can interact with us on Twitter, Google+, and Facebook, so I'd love to hear from you there. And if you think anyone's interested in the discussions that we have and also the content we have on our website, feel free to send them there. We'd greatly appreciate that. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.